Have you ever heard that physicians are just bad investors or they're terrible with their money or they're bad at business? Well, I've heard all of these things, and I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. Clearly, physicians are capable, reasonable, and intelligent people who can do all of these things. And I'm going to tell you why I think physicians are great investors or great have the right qualities to be a good investor or a good business owner, because we have several qualities that are necessary. Number one, we are intellectually curious and we are lifelong learners. And I think this is an extremely important thing, regardless of what you want to do. Whether you want to learn to ride horses or learn to paint or start a business, you've got to be able to be coached and be taught and be open to learning things you may not have known. And I think physicians are naturally doing that all the time. They not only, take on the challenge of, the medical profession, which is, a huge amount of learning up front, but we have to maintain that learning. We have to keep learning, not just to maintain our certifications, but because there are new devices, new medications, new procedures being developed all the time. And we have to keep up with those. We have to, in order to just take care of our patients, we've got to keep learning, keep reading. And then not only that, we've got to research those new ideas or new topics, and we've got to implement those. So we are always practicing evidence-based medicine, which means we take the latest research and we apply that in our clinical practice. So that is something we're always doing, which I think is a very important quality for someone who wants to learn the skills required for investing or doing a new business. And so that's one thing. And I think that we have a lot of discipline. And I think this is something that probably, I guess, people outside of medicine really don't appreciate how much discipline it takes to become a doctor and to stay a doctor. Because, or maybe they know about it, but they forget about it because they think we're somehow rash or impulsive in our decision making. And that is simply not the case. Physicians are clearly very capable of being disciplined. When we graduate high school and enter college and then after college or getting into medical school and residency, we're delaying gratification for more than a decade. Oftentimes 11, 12, 13 years. We are in school and then in training, and that takes a lot of discipline to put your life on hold, or don't go out and party, don't go do all the fun things that maybe your friends are doing because you're trying to become a doctor. And then even when you get out, you've got to take call, you've got to be rigorous in your charting and other things that you've got to do to just practice medicine. And I think that physicians have tremendous discipline and fortitude and grit to not only get through their training, but then to maintain the practice of being a physician. So I think we definitely have that on our side as an amazing quality, and just sort of a natural quality. I feel like is just something we're doing all the time. Like we have to have that just to be where we are. And I think it's an extremely important quality to bring to the table when you are investing or starting a new business. And then I think the other thing that we do a lot of in medicine is we are collaborating. We're always collaborating with our peers because no one really practices in a vacuum, right? Even if you're out in the country, you don't practice alone. Everything in medicine is a team effort. Even if, like, when I'm in the emergency room and there's no other doctor around, I still have to collaborate with the paramedics, the nurses, the technicians, and we all have to work together as a team to take care of that patient. And we're doing this all the time, quite naturally. We know that it takes a team to do something good. And then when we are even like after we've taken care of our part of that, patient's treatment plan, we are going to reach out to consultants or the hospitalists. And we know that we have certain limitations, that we have a certain specialization, so that, we don't think that we're going to be able to do everything for everyone all the time. We are going to reach out when we need help, or when we know that there's another skill set that's necessary, or another department that's necessary. So I think that too is just an amazing and important quality that we are bringing to any business venture, because definitely in business especially, it does take a team. Or even in real estate investing, for instance, when you're putting together a large deal, if you've got a 300 unit apartment complex, you're not going to do that by yourself. You're going to need someone to take care of the financing, someone to raise capital, someone to do the asset management or the due diligence. And you've got to bring together a team. And then you've got to lead the team. I think that's another thing that physicians are really good at, is being a team leader and bringing people together, getting people on the same page, and then moving them forward with a common mission. Because that's what we're doing with our patients, right? We're talking to them, we're talking to their family, we're talking to the social worker, the nurses, all these different people, the people that contribute to that patient's treatment. We're getting them all together to move that patient's treatment forward. So I think that's something that we're also always naturally doing. And I think, again, a great quality to bring to any business venture or investment strategy. So I wonder, where does this come from? Why do we have this generalization that gets thrown around all the time, that somehow physicians are bad with their money? Well, I think it's a couple of things. First of all, I think people see, or at least financial planners see, that physicians get out of residency and they're spending a lot of money, and are spending a lot more than they were. And I think this is true. And I think there's a reason for that. Number one, we are graduating, and then we are usually in our 30s, our early 30s, when we finally leave our training. So at that time in life, a lot is happening for people, right? If they're not married, they're probably getting married. And then a lot of people are trying to have children around that time, so they may be having children. And then they are likely relocating, because you don't usually, or not always, get a job where you train. You tend to maybe move back home, or maybe move to a different part of the country. So you've got to first spend money to relocate, and then you've got to find housing there. You've got to get another car, or you've got to do other things to start living. So I think that happens. And I think that, yes, do they want to treat themselves after a long, period of delaying gratification? Absolutely. If you've been on a diet for 2 years and you finally meet your goals, wouldn't you want to treat? Of course you would. And I think that's completely human and natural, and not necessarily a bad thing. I think we do need to, take a break sometimes and enjoy life. And of course, do it with some discipline. It doesn't need to be unreasonable. You don't need to eat chocolate cake every day, and you don't need to, go buy a fancy car every year. So I think we can still, treat ourselves and do it reasonably. And I think for the most part, physicians are doing that. I don't think that they're impulsively buying or overspending, because most of the people I know are living a very responsible life. And so I don't know where this ridiculous assumption comes up. And I think that's what I really want to turn upside down in this podcast, is really showcase physicians who are investing in alternative assets or creating their own business, because it's such a wonderful thing to see these people who are working so hard and have worked for probably more than a decade of their life to get to where they are, and yet they have the intellectual curiosity and the courage to expand their horizons and do new things and take on new challenges. And I think that as a community of physicians, we can continue to learn and grow and be some of the best investors and the best business people, because I think we have true passion to add value to our communities and to the people we serve. So I hope you will join me on this podcast. Please like and subscribe and share this with your friends.